Okay, how awesome was Aztec Warfare? My God, that was amazing. Lucha Underground did it again. Second year in a row that they've done Aztec Warfare, and they hit it out of the park once again. I'm reading reviews comparing the match to the Royal Rumble and how it's basically a better version of the Royal Rumble. And I read one review that said it was better than any Royal Rumble in the last decade. And yeah. Yeah, it's what really helped the match more than anything is the fact that their characters are so well established, and there's so many feuds and so many stories going on. So that whenever there were two guys that were feuding that got meshed together, whether it was Jack Evans and Drago, or Cage and Johnny Mundo, or anything like that. You had Rey Mysterio making his debut, which was great. El Dragon Azteca, after all this build-up, finally makes his debut. You had the Pentagon Mil Muertes situation, how that all played out and had an impact on the match. Just so many different stories going on throughout the show, and so many strong characters that when you have a match with 20 people in it and all those characters cross paths, it makes for a very exciting match. And I could sit here all day and talk about all the great stuff they did here, whether it be Cage no-selling, getting thrown through the window and taking a cinder block to beat him, to Drago and Jack Evans brawling all over the crowd, to the stuff with Pentagon and Mil Muertes, which was fucking great. Loved all of that. To the debut of the monster, Matanza, and that's how you book a monster. That right there. Matanza is a character who had been built up all the way going back to season 1 and very early in the show's history. And they've revealed like little bits and pieces more and more throughout the course of season 1 and throughout the first few episodes of season 2, until we finally got to see him last week, and then last night we got to see him in action in the ring, and he's a fucking monster. He just tore through everybody and ultimately won the title, and now he is the Lucha Underground champion. And they've established him as an unbeatable force of nature. Part of his backstory is that he's got the spirit of an evil god within him. So, as wacky as that sounds, there's a supernatural element to him. He's got strong ties to Dario Cueto and their backstory together. Dario Cueto's back too, which is fucking great. Love all of that. And Lucha Underground just commits to their shit, and there were fears that Matanza wouldn't live up to the hype because they built him up so much, and I compare it to Kane initially when they first brought Kane in, because they built up Kane for months, even going back to when Paul Bearer was blackmailing The Undertaker, and we was like, oh, what does Paul Bearer hold over The Undertaker? So if you want to start at that point, it was a good 6 months before we finally saw Kane, and with all that build-up, you wonder if reality is going to live up to the imagination. And I thought with Kane's early days and that first, especially the first, from Bad Blood to WrestleMania or Unforgiven in April, I thought Kane more than lived up to the hype. I thought he surpassed expectations. And Matanza kind of had that same thing where it's like, oh man, they put so much into him. They've let him literally murder characters on the show. Literally murder characters. Matanza has a body count, and I'm assuming that Bale's blood is stained on his outfit. I'm going to assume that that's just for the sake of keeping continuity with whatever the fuck is going on. But, with all that build-up, there was fears that he's not going to live up to the hype, and I thought last night with the way he was booked and the way he was performed and everything, I thought he came off amazingly well. And I love unstoppable monster heels because, to me, it just drives the story better if you have obstacles for the heroes to overcome. And the bigger the obstacle, the more difficult the obstacle, the more satisfying the payoff is ultimately. My only real problem with Matanza is that the talent they got to play him is a little on the short side. Not a huge problem, but he doesn't look as imposing as he could. But, again, the way he carried himself and the way he works, I thought he did just fine. And, again, he's he's got a supernatural element to him, so that also helps. And it also helps that Lucha Underground commits to their shit so well that everything just you just kind of buy into the nuttiness of the whole thing and how crazy it all is. And I thought Aztec Warfare was an amazing episode. I thought the match was amazingly well booked. Kudos to Lucha Underground to actually putting the belt on Matanza after all that build-up. The easy option would have been to give the belt to Ray. That would have been the easy way to go, but kudos to them. They stuck with their character, they stuck with their creation, and they made him look like $100 million right on arrival. And now we all got to sit here and wonder. It's like, all right, so who's gonna beat this guy? And how can this guy be beat? And one little interesting point, the way Pentagon took out Mil Muertes and Cage was eliminated before Matanza was able to enter, and of course both of those eliminations came after like a lot of people getting involved and a lot of things having to come into play, like steel chairs and cinder blocks and all sorts of stuff like that. So it makes me wonder, it's like, is Mil Muertes going to be a good match for Matanza at some point? Is Cage going to be able to match up against Matanza at some point? So there's plenty of stuff to look forward to. And again, I thought Aztec Warfare was fucking great. I loved it and lived up to its hype. And I'm excited to see where the show goes from now on, because Dario's back. You got Matanza on top, and you've got Rey Mysterio and El Dragon Azteca Jr. in the temple now. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to, and it's all looking pretty good. So I thought Aztec Warfare was fantastic and loved it. Loved just about every second of it. It was great. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about in this video is NXT TakeOver Dallas, which is going to be happening Friday night, the Friday before WrestleMania, April 1st, I believe that is. And yeah, I'm actually really excited for the show. There's a lot of really good stuff on there. I'm looking at this card, I'm like, man, this is really good. I think the weakest thing on the card is actually the main event, believe it or not, the world title match. But let's go over the card. I'll preview it now. Here's my plan. Preview NXT now, and then hopefully by Tuesday, I'll have all of my WrestleMania Best to Worst videos up. But the last two should be up by Tuesday. That's the goal right now. Easter weekend's coming up this weekend, so that's going to get in the way and slow me down a little bit. But I should have both videos up by Tuesday, and once that's done, that series will be done with. And then on Friday the 1st, and no, this is not an April Fool's joke, I promise. I'll watch NXT, review that immediately after the show, and also provide a preview for WrestleMania WrestleMania Dallas Star. Let's just call it that. It's like they don't number them anymore. That's crazy. So that is the plan for upcoming videos. I might also have a review of Batman v Superman, which apparently, if the early reactions are to be believed, apparently it is fucking horrible. I'm hearing all sorts of bad things about it. I hope it's not terrible. I hope people are just overreacting, and I hope that I don't want it to be bad. I really don't, but I'm like, wow, that's not a good sign. There are no good signs here. This is really bad. But hopefully I don't hate it. I'm seeing it on Saturday regardless. And if it's bad, hopefully it's funny bad. Because I never got to see Batman and Robin in theaters. So, if it's so bad to the point of being ludicrous, maybe I'll have a good time with that too. And I'm having drinks afterwards anyway. So it's like I may need the drinks. Who knows? But we'll see how that goes. But that'll probably be... I don't know if I'll be able to work that in. Probably the only way I'd be able to work in a review of the movie would be the WrestleMania NXT review and WrestleMania preview video next Friday. So it'll be a ways off, but still, I should probably talk about the movie after it comes out. But yeah, so like I said, those are the plans. That's the video schedule for the next week and a half or so. And then after WrestleMania, like Monday or Tuesday, I'll post my review. That's how that's going to work. So, moving right along to NXT TakeOver Dallas, like I said, I think the card is flipping great. I love just about everything on the card. You've got Baron Corbin versus Austin Aries. Austin Aries' NXT in-ring debut. His television debut was ruined by Baron Corbin, who has been outstanding as a character lately. I love what Baron Corbin has become. He kind of started as a blank slate, kind of a generic big guy that, all right, they're having him smash through people, and maybe they can develop that into something. I think they have developed him into something good. It's, he's this big guy that gets by on his physical gifts, and he looks down on the indie guys that have a reputation before getting there. And it's, the fans started booing him. They were getting bored with him. They turned him heel and turned it into something that worked. Maybe something like that should be done with Roman Reigns. I'm just saying. You can. I'm just saying. You don't have to force him down our throats and make him a babyface. You can find ways to develop him and make it palatable. But Baron Corbin, I think they've developed quite nicely, and I highly doubt that Aries is going to beat him. If Aries is going to stick around for NXT, I would think that Aries would go over in his first match. But I think this could be a really good match. I think Aries is a good pickup for NXT, good talent, obviously. And Baron's a big guy, so I think the dynamic there is going to work out very well. And like I said, both, especially Baron lately, he's been such a great character with getting increasingly frustrated with William Regal and management, and how things are being run, and how he's never given the title shots that he feels he deserves. So there's a lot of good stuff going on with Baron Corbin, and I hope they continue developing him further because, like I said, I think he's been very good. I'm not saying he's a finished product yet. I'm not saying he's world title worthy at this point, but from where he is now, from where he was a year ago, I mean, he's like a completely different guy almost. And it's always nice to see progress, and that's always a good thing. You don't want to see them get worse, and you don't want to see guys stay stagnant. And I think Baron Corbin has progressed. Where a lot of big guys that are pushed for the sake of being big, a lot of times they don't. Because all they have to do is be big, right? So they don't have to, there's not a whole lot of room to step out of their comfort zone, but I think Baron's been great lately. So, I'm actually really looking forward to that match, and I think it could be really good, but kind of a sleeper hit. We have the NXT tag titles on the line. The Revival, who I really like, I think they branded themselves really well, and I think they've developed into something quite nice. But they'll be defending the titles against American Alpha, who are my boys, Jason Jordan and Chad Gable, who I love like nobody's business. So I am hoping upon hope that they win the goddamn titles, because I think that I would mark out like a bitch if they won the tag titles. They have been amazing ever since being put together as a team. I mean, it was like peanut butter and jelly right away. I mean, they just clicked almost instantly in the ring, out of the ring. Their personalities meshed well. I mean, it was just natural to put them together. I mean, they were born to tag together. It's almost scary how well it worked so fast. So yeah, I'm going to be pulling for them to win the tag titles. I hope they do. I think it would be great if they did. And I'm looking forward to it. I think these two could have a really good match. And I think it's funny that these were the two teams that were kind of on the outside looking in during the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Tournament a few months ago, because they were the two semifinals teams, and they ultimately didn't win it, or didn't even make it to the finals. They were the two teams that got eliminated, and now they're the two top teams in NXT right now. And I think this is another match I think could turn out really, really well, and could be probably the best tag title match in the history of these NXT Takeover specials, but we'll see. We also have a very good women's title match lined up. Bayley taking on Asuka. I expect Bayley to drop the title here. It's kind of like, I love Bayley to death. I love her, and I'm not knocking her. But, there comes a point where with baby faces, especially underdog baby faces, where if they're the champion for too long, they lose that underdog appeal because they win all the time. That's one of the problems with John Cena, is that they keep wanting us to think of him as an underdog. It's like, no, he wins all the time, and he's like, and he wins all the time, and it's boring. And I'm not saying Bayley's gotten to that point, but if she gets by Asuka here, you got to start asking, it's like, all right, well, what's left for her? Because she's kind of beaten everybody else. I don't know if Bayley's being prepared for a main roster push either. I think the main roster would be a bad move for her. Because I think creative's gonna get their fingers in her. Didn't mean it that. I did not mean that the way that came out. But they're gonna get a hold of her, and they're gonna ruin her. I think they are gonna make her. They're gonna look at the hugging thing, and that's gonna be all she does. because it's funny and cute, and they're not going to understand why Bayley got over, and they're not going to understand what the appeal was to her. So I think if she moves to the main roster, that would be a bad move for her. But either case, I think she should drop the title here, let Asuka win the belt, and with Asuka, you have a potentially dominant champion who could kind of rule the division for a while, and then it's kind of like, all right, well, who's going to beat Asuka? Who can match up to that very talented, very gifted lady wrestler there? So, yeah, I think Asuka should win, and I think Bayley and Asuka could have a hell of a match together. I think it'd be a very exciting match. I think the crowd's going to be into both girls. I think, it's probably going to be a split reaction if I had to guess. Or depending on how smart Marky the crowd is, it might be more for Asuka. I'm looking forward to this. I think it could be a hell of a match. It could be very, very good indeed. So, looking forward to a title change here as well. Also lined up for this show, we have Sami Zayn taking on Shinsuke Nakamura, making his NXT debut. Need I say more? This is going to be great. This match is going to be great. I'm really looking forward to this one. Much like I said about Austin Aries, I anticipate Nakamura to win here. It's his first match with NXT, so I highly doubt he's going to lose. And, of course, that brings up all the questions. Where does Sami go from here? I was very surprised that he didn't win number one contendership. I thought for sure they were setting up for Zayn versus Balor, which would be great. Maybe they didn't want to do two face versus face matches on one show, because you'd have Balor versus Zayn, and you'd have Asuka versus Bayley, and that's a little bit too much with the face versus face stuff. So you don't want to kind of repeat yourself on the same show. Also, and now I see that he's working with Nakamura. It's like, okay, I mean, that's a great first opponent for Nakamura. I think Sami Zayn could work very, very well with him. And I think this match is going to be very good. Nakamura is most likely going to get the win, and hopefully it's a sign of bigger and better things for Nakamura down the road. Not sure where Sami's going to go from here. It looks like he's going to... I don't know. Now that he's got a spot at WrestleMania in that ladder match, which I'll talk more about that when I do my Mania preview, but... looks like Sami might just be a main roster mainstay from this point on, but we'll see how that goes. Again, it's kind of like Sami Zayn. I'm not as worried for him as I am for Bayley, but it's still there, kind of. But, I think Nakamura and Zayn could be a hell of a match. I think it could be the best match on the show, quite honestly. And then finally, we have the main event, Finn Balor versus Samoa Joe for the NXT title, which I said is the least interesting match on the card. It's not bad. It's a rematch from the last TakeOver special, and I don't feel like the story was really... There wasn't enough of a story there to really make the rematch that desirable. They'll have a good match. I mean, I'm not doubtful. Their match at London was really good too, but... I just don't think... It's not like Owens and Zayn was last year, where Owens beat the ever-living shit out of Zayn, and you wanted to see Zayn come back and beat Owens. This doesn't really have that. Finn already beat Joe, so the face already won, and the story hasn't developed in any kind of way, because the story in between the two TakeOver specials has just been the craziness in determining a number one contender, where it started off with Baron, Zayn, and Joe, and then one by one they eliminated guys until Joe was the last man standing. Like I said, I think the match will be fine. I just don't think it's that interesting on paper, at least not when compared to the other matches on the show. It's the one I'm least excited about, quite honestly. And granted, I mean, if that's the worst thing I can say about this show, then this show's going to be pretty fucking great. But, I mean, who goes over here? I would think Balor, but, because I can't imagine, like... I don't know. I guess I can see Joe winning it, but Balor, they seem very interested in wanting to protect him and keep the Balor train rolling for as long as possible. Maybe eventually do a heel turn where he forms the Bullet Club in NXT or some version of the Bullet Club. That could be really cool, actually. Actually, you know what? If Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson fucking show up in that main event and help Balor win, I'm going to mark out like a motherfucker. That would be fucking great. That would be outstanding. That would be a great way to kind of make this match more interesting. But as is, I'll pick Balor to retain, and if they don't do anything nutty like what I just suggested with it, the match will be good anyway. I just don't think dramatically or story-wise there's not a whole lot to really invest in there. It's just another title match. Which is more than I can say about a lot of main roster WWE shows where most of the world title matches I'm like, don't care. Don't care. Oh God, that's terrible. This one's like, yeah, it's all right. You know, they probably could have done better, but yeah, it's okay. I can live with that. So yeah, that's NXT Takeover Dallas. Like I said, the card looks amazing, and it looks like NXT is going to have another stellar show, and it should kick off the WrestleMania weekend quite nicely. So that's all I have for now. Just wanted to come on here, talk a little bit of Lucha Underground, talk about a little bit of NXT, provide some updates for some of the videos I'm working on. Like I said, Tuesday's going to be that's my deadline date to get both final entries for WrestleMania Best to Worst out there. So that series should be done, and then after that it'll be a handful of WrestleMania related videos. Batman Superman review will be in there somewhere. Dear God, please don't be terrible. I'm begging you, please don't be terrible. Please don't be terrible. And if you're terrible, be funny bad. That's all I ask. It's not that hard. Come on, Zack Snyder. It's like, if you're gonna be bad, go all the fucking way with it. Just be fucking terrible. But it's Batman Superman. You should be. This should be at least pretty good, but I don't know. It's not looking good. But anyway, ranting aside, that is all I have for you now. Continue watching Lucha Underground. It's fucking great. Continue watching NXT. Takeover looks like it's going to be really good. That's all I have for you guys now. So until then, I will see you all later.